Hey Travis County, welcome back. I'm Tamara Schubert, your New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Office. I am the Family Consumer Science Agent for Travis County. This month we've been talking all about getting the most out of our clothes. When we're looking to save a little bit on our budget, getting our clothes to last a little while helps with those little added expenses. Last week we talked all about selecting our washing machines, using the proper water temperature, and the difference between detergents and soaps. Remember, if you're in an area that has hard water, which is most of New Mexico, unless you have a water softener, you want to make sure to choose a detergent over soap to make sure your clothes get completely clean. This week, we're going to talk about being a stain buster. So we all have those little instances. We're driving to work, our morning drink spills on us, we're grabbing a quick bite, that mustard plops right on the shirt. We all have those little things that causes a stain on our shirts or our clothes. You know, if you're like my husband, he sits on the railroad ties at work. He gets that stuff right in his jeans. The grass stains if your husband works out in the yard. Let's talk about how to get all of that stuff out and get the most out of our clothes. The damage created by stains or the improper removal of them is the most common cause for getting rid of our clothes. And we want them to last a little while. So there's two things to do. Be a stain detective. You want to try to figure out what caused that stain. You know, if it's in this area of your shirt, it's more than likely it's food. But try to figure out what you were doing that day and what caused those stains. There's different things to use for those to get them out. Number two, act quick. That is the most important thing. The longer the stain sits on the item of clothing, the more set in that it gets. So we want to make sure that we act quick. One other quick tip that I have is to make sure you flush it from the wrong side of your fabric. So if you've got stains on your clothes, make sure you turn them over and run the water the opposite direction. Flush them out of the fabric instead of through the fabric. Use a hard water stream. So most of the time we find those in our showers if we have a handheld wand, or our kitchens. They have more pressure than a lot of times our laundry rooms or our bathrooms. So check those areas, flush from the inside out so it goes out and not through the fabric, and use a hard water stream. Now let's talk about what should be in our stain kits as we try to remove our stains. So there's several things that we want to look at. We want to look at things that will absorb stains. So when we're talking about absorbing stains, we want things that will absorb, draw the liquids out, or blot them up. And we want to blot, not rub. So paper towels and washcloths, but make sure that they're white. We talked last month or last week about how dyes can transfer from clothes to clothes. So if we're using a white washcloth on a light colored item, we're going to rub some of that red dye into our clothing that we're trying to get the stain out of. And we're going to make it even worse. So make sure we have some white rags, some white cloths. Things to use from the kitchen. Cornmeal or cornstarch are great at absorbing liquids from clothes. So if you have your t-shirt, you dropped all your soda on it, lay it flat, throw some cornstarch on there, throw some cornmeal on there, let it absorb out, shake it out, and then rinse it. Sponges. Sponges work great. My problem is I can't find one that's light colored or doesn't already have a chemical in it. So if you've got a sponge like that, keep it handy in your stain removal kit. So if we're not using an absorbent, we're going to use a solvent. Now solvents are great for our oils and our grease stains. Those are margarine and butter stains, cooking oils, your olive oil, your canola oils, mayonnaise, deodorant, salad dressing, your makeup ladies, gasoline, the rings around the collar from your husband's work shirts, and your motor oil stains. All of those are stains that can be removed with a solvent. And we've got lots of them, and most of them are handy in your house already. So, great thing to use. Dish detergent. It says it removes grease from or oil from animals, right? It also does that for your clothes. And if you're not using your laundry or your dish detergent, shampoo. Shampoo works great too. Fun tip, those oven hoods that get grease all over them, shampoo works great on that too because it cuts right through and you can wipe them all off. So those work great. The other thing that will work is any of your laundry detergents, your dry cleaning detergents, or fingernail polish remover. Make sure that if you're using a fingernail polish remover, that your clothing does not have acetate in it. It will dissolve your acetate. So make sure you check those labels that we talked about last week. There's also a couple of things that you can use to act as a bleach. Lemon juice, hydrogen peroxide. Most of us have this in the house already. Chlorine bleach or your all-purpose bleach. All of those things act as a bleach in moving unwanted color from those clothes. The other things to have in handy, salt, right from the kitchen, right? Salt, vinegar, ammonia, or laundry pre-soak. All of those things are great to have in our laundry kits. You know, the fun other tip that I found with our nail polish removers. Now, all of us have white soles on our shoes, right? We walk around, those get extremely dirty. I'm going to zoom in on the camera here so you can see. Those get extremely dirty, right? A little bit of nail polish remover and look at the difference. Those are great at making our shoes last a little bit longer. Let's talk about some of the tools that we need besides our things to get absorb or solve our stains. So a couple of other things to have handy. Stainless steel spoons. These are great for scraping things off of shirts and not getting them all the way through shirts. Our nail brush or an old toothbrush to kind of rub some of those stains out, create that friction that gets them clean. When we talk about containers that we want to soak our items in, we want to look for things that are stainless steel, enamel, or china. No plastics. Get rid of your plastic buckets. Go for your steels, your enamels, and your chinas. Those will work better in removing your stains. If you don't know what your stain is, and you've worked through some of these items that we talked about in our stain kits, here's a couple of tips. Soak in cold water for 30 minutes. Now you can use your detergents, you can use the dishwashing soap that we talked about earlier, put it on there, soak it for 30 minutes, and then flush it out and see if that helps. If it doesn't, repeat the process. Try something different. Try some more of those solvents that we talked about. But don't dry it until you get that stain out. That heat from the dryer is going to set it. So if you wash it and it's still there, try the process all over again. If you're working with things like milk, eggs, blood, or perspiration, soak those items overnight in your solvents that you want to use on those. Soak them overnight and then wash them. Should come right out. You guys stay tuned. There's a couple of pictures and some voiceovers that we have on what to do with our clothes if those stains just don't come out, but we don't want to get rid of the clothes. Stay tuned.
So if you've worked your way down the solvent list and down the absorbent list and that stain just refuses to come out, here's a couple options that you can try. This first one, you've got one little spot on the shirt. Try adding a pocket. This is something you can do without a sewing machine. Simply cut your shape, pin it, and run a running stitch along the sides and the bottom of the pocket. You can add something over the shoulders or at the bottom of the shirt to tie the shirt together. This next one, if you've got something going down the middle of your shirt, and again, this one can be done without a sewing machine, try adding a piece of lace down the bottom. You don't have to cut the shirt. You can lay this lace right over, and again, using your thread, can hand stitch up the sides of the lace. This next one's a little more complicated and does require the use of a sewing machine, but if you've got a large area of stain, try some coordinating fabrics on each side to cover those stains. Simply lay the new fabric over the shirt and stitch it in place. We've talked today about getting the most out of our clothes and getting those stains out. Remember, work your way through the solvent list and the absorbent list and keep tackling it until it comes out. Join us next week for more out of getting the most out of your clothes.